and welcome back to Cindy's Library. This time I want to talk about Victober. So what is Victober? I didn't know myself, but apparently it started not that long ago, and it is a celebration of Victorian literature through the month of October. And so sounds intriguing, so I thought I would try and participate this year. We'll see how it goes. So it seems there are 6 challenges this year. The first challenge is to read something Victorian in your favorite genre. And so I have been meaning to get to it forever, but I need to read George MacDonald's fantasies for the fantasy genre. George MacDonald actually is quite inspirational to a number of more modern fantasists, especially C.S. Lewis. So I'm excited to read a bit more of what he has done. I've read Princess and the Goblin and The Princess and Curdie and a few other things, but I have not read fantasies, and so this is the perfect opportunity to give that a go. The second challenge is to read letters or diaries of people from the Victorian era, and so I will be doing a bit of Queen Victoria for that. Let's see, number three is short stories or novellas by Victorians. And so I have decided on Cousin Phyllis by Elizabeth Gaskell, since I really enjoyed North and South, and I'd like to read more by her, and that seems like a good place to try from among her short stories. Let's see, the fourth item is read something from a previous Victober list that you didn't get to, or read something Victorian that you have been meaning to get to. And so I have 2 options for this of sorts. I have been listening to Middlemarch on audiobook, and so my plan is to finish Middlemarch in October. I also have been meaning to read War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, and this would count for number 1 as well, being a genre item. But I read First Man on the Moon by H.G. Wells, and I think it's time that I read another one of his famous books, which of course would be War of the Worlds. I've heard plenty about it, and so we shall see what that is like. The 5th challenge is to dress up as Victorian, or at least to wear something Victorian. Sadly, I have absolutely nothing Victorian, and so I'm afraid I can't do that this year. But we will have to see what I can do about that, knowing that Victober will be regularly coming up. So we shall see for future years. Now, the 6th item is there's going to be a group read of the novel Shirley by one of the Bronte sisters. Not Anne, it's either Charlotte or Emily. I really should have looked this up beforehand, but seems like a good time anyway to expand my exposure to the Bronte sisters. So that is what I will be putting on my reading list for Victober as well. Now, all of these I am not showing you because all of these are on my Kindle, being Victorian items. Most of those I can get for free or practically free and read on my Kindle. And so I will only be getting hardcovers of anything that I end up particularly loving. But that is certainly not all for the month of October, because there are many things to read in October that I have on my list. Bit ambitious, we'll have to see how far I get, but some of these at least I will definitely be getting through. So first, I am going to be finishing up this book, How to Read, a book by Mortimer J. Adler and Charles Van Doren. You would think as a reader I would already know how to read sufficiently well, but surprisingly, I could be a better reader, and so I'm very excited to finish this book and start incorporating some of the suggestions that they make, when it is worth it, of course. On the same vein, I have been listening to Book Girl by Susanna Clarkson, and I read this along the same lines, inspiration for how to read better, and it also has a ton of amazing reading lists, and so that is why I got this in hardcover too, so it would be easier for me to look at those reading lists when I am done and want to go back and comb through for the things that sound most interesting to me. So almost a pity it is Victober, because I am really on an Austen kick right now. I actually started reading Northanger Abbey and am loving it. It's not my first read, but this is probably my most enjoyable read of this book so far. And what a better month than October than to finish up Northanger Abbey, Jane Austen's quintessential teasing of the Gothic genre. I have been slowly working my way through the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien, which was assembled by or edited by Humphrey Carpenter, and so I will be continuing to slowly work my way through those. This will be my third read through of those. Lots of little gems in there I'm finding. Maybe I should do a video of some of the best that I have found when I'm done. Have to think about that. I have been slowly working my way through the Harry Potter series again. And so I am currently on The Prisoner of Azkaban and will probably still be so when October starts. It would be wonderful if I could finish all of the Harry Potter series, well, the rest of the series in October. That may be a bit ambitious, but we'll see if I can't get at least a couple more of the books done in October. And I just got Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Now, I loved her debut, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and so I am ecstatic to see what she has brought us this time. We shall see. I know very little about it, except that it is about this man in a most unusual house. Currently, I've just started The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow and have been absolutely loving it. Who would have guessed that Mary Bennet needed her own story and her own happily ever after? But when you think about it, she is really quite a underdeveloped character who, when you think about her situation, really deserves our sympathy. And so far, Janice Hadlow does full justice to doing just that. So I'll be letting you know what I think when I am done with it. I'm also near the beginning of Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising from the Star Wars universe by Timothy Zahn. Yes, I am also a Star Wars fan, and you'll occasionally see me doing Star Wars books. Timothy Zahn, though, he is a special case for me in the world of Star Wars novels. One, because he developed one of the absolute best villains in the Star Wars universe, Thrawn, who is like a chess master the way he plays with his victims, so to speak. But also because Timothy Zahn was basically responsible for helping to keep Star Wars alive after the original trilogy. After the original trilogy, there wasn't a whole lot of Star Wars content until the early 90s when Timothy Zahn did his first Thrawn trilogy and kept the Star Wars universe alive by showing that Star Wars novels would be eaten up by the fans. I was one of them. I remember getting my first Timothy Zahn novel when I was young, probably about 12, 13, 14, something like that. And so we owe him a debt of gratitude. And so he is an author who, if he's not quite an automatic buy as far as Star Wars books goes, he is just about an automatic buy. So, and like I said, Thrawn is the most intriguing character. This is his second series that he has done recently. His original Thrawn trilogy, of course, is what we call Star Wars Legends now, since everything but the movies and a few other items like Clone Wars was put in the Legends category after Disney bought Lucasfilm, and everything since then is canon. And yes, this is his second canon series now. In his first canon series, starting with just Thrawn, we see Thrawn basically be discovered by the Empire, kind of on purpose, and join the Empire. And we see some of the havoc that he wreaks doing that. I shouldn't use the word havoc though. Thrawn is quite clean compared to most Imperials. He wants to, he is one who will use the maximum force necessary to inflict the minimum necessary for his goals, because he wants to use the fewest resources. So in that way, he's a lot cleaner than a lot of Imperials. He considers more than just the objective itself. He does a lot of thinking about how best to do it. Means do matter to him in a cold, calculating way. But Thrawn Ascendancy, we go back to a younger Thrawn, where we see him, before he left the Ascendancy for the Empire. And we get some insight into how he became the person he was. We'll have to see where this series goes, but I look forward to it, and no doubt we will, by the end, know exactly how and why Thrawn decided to leave for the Empire. And I also have Miss Austen by Gil Hornby, also recommended in Austen circles. Apparently it is from the perspective of Jane Austen's sister Cassandra, and so I'm quite looking forward to that one as well. I've also got a number of items on ebook, or items that I have ordered that will be appearing on my ebook, and a few hard items that I have ordered as well. Hard items I have ordered are Charlotte by Helen Moffat, which will be going over Pride and Prejudice, basically from Charlotte's perspective and what happens to her afterwards with Mr. Collins. And Longbourn by Jo Baker, again Pride and Prejudice, but from the perspective of the servants. Should be quite interesting. And then for ebooks here, I have The Midnight Swan by Catherine Fisher, which will be finishing up her Clockwork Crow series. I'm excited to see how that ends. I need to do a video about that series when I get done with it. The Midnight Bargain by C.L. Polk, which sounded interesting because it sounded like an Austenish world with magic, and it's apparently our main character. She can either choose a normal life with the guy she loves, or she can choose her magic. So we'll have to see what she chooses. And we've got Return of the Thief, which is the latest in Megan Whalen Turner's Thief series, possibly the last one. And so we will have to see what the thief Eugenides gets up to this time. We have been building towards this for a long time, ever since book one. Have to do a video about that series once it's all over as well. Kind of a Big Deal by Shannon Hale. Looking forward to this one. It's a comedy, has romance, coming of age, musical with graphic fits in it. Graphic as in graphic novel. And so sounds quite interesting. Shannon Hale is an amazing author who I've loved for years, and so I am looking forward to seeing what this is like. The Lost Wonderland Diaries by J. Scott Savage. Don't know a whole lot about them, except obviously it's going to be some sort of twist on Alice in Wonderland. Unequal Affections by Laura S. Ormston. Apparently this is Pride and Prejudice if Elizabeth Bennet had agreed to marry Mr. Darcy at his first proposal. So it should be interesting. The Left-Handed Booksellers of London by Gareth Nix. They basically had me at the word bookseller, so that should be explanation enough. What are these different booksellers? What makes them different? Be interesting to find all about that. And then finally, The Shadow Chaser by C.J. Cervantes. This is maybe his final book in his series, The Storm Runner. So if it is, I'll have to do a video about all of those books too. So those are some of the things on my to be read pile. We'll have to see how far I get. It's a little bit ambitious, but you know, might be able to do it, especially since I'm going on a trip, and so I'll have some car time and can devote some time to Middlemarch there. So, well, those are my October plans. I'll have to come back to you at the end of the month and check in and see how we did. And as I finish things, if I particularly recommend them, I will be sure to do a video of them as well. So always stay safe and happy reading.